Okay, I think we are live now. I remembered the hat. I'm very happy. Someone pointed out after the last stream that I wasn't wearing the witch hat, and I was like, no, how could I forget? But we are wearing the hat. Hello, it's Wednesday. It's Wednesday. Wow, it's been a weird day, honestly. It's been a weird week. Hello, everybody. Yes, so today's stream is probably going to be a wee bit shorter than usual. I normally try and go for 2 hours. I'm probably only going to do 45 minutes to an hour for this one. I don't know if I mentioned this already in, like, I don't know, the Discord, a video, I don't remember, but I sprained my back again or did something to it again, so I've just been trying to not hurt it too much. I'm back at work this week at least a little bit, so I'm making progress, but don't want to stand too long in one go. But I have everything tweaked from last time. I want to run real quick through the stuff I fixed that we talked about last time. And then there's a few things I want to finish going through for like the post verb stuff. And then I think we're ready to start actually coming up with some stuff like real things with real words and real letters, which is exciting. So let's see. Okay, so this is our high level page for the spell language. And I moved these bits over here. So like the action morphemes, the determiners, all this stuff that just kind of defines the high level stuff that can go in here. I put that here. So that's fine. I think this is mostly done at this point. We've kind of gone through everything. We've kind of gotten a high level idea of everything we need to figure out. And then I moved some of the stuff over to the noun section because I realized it was more for nouns. So I moved the determiners that we had been looking at here. So we have our spatial determiners. So this is the stuff that I was like drawing at the end of the last one because it just wasn't working for me to type for some reason. But we have our proximal and then our medial, which in the case of this language means that's being referred or pointed to. We have distal, and then I just kind of documented that stuff over here. We have the possessive is determined potentially by the pronoun. And this is something new that I was thinking about when I was moving these notes over, so let me know what you think. But we already have pronoun prefix markers to go before the verb to specify the subject. So I was thinking if we used one of these pronoun prefix markers on a noun, maybe it indicates possession. It feels, maybe like that's reasonable. I don't know if that seems very odd, but it's a bit recycly, which is nice. It might be difficult because it's harder to tell, I guess, if something's a verb or a noun in some cases, but maybe I think it's okay. Maybe. I don't know. If you have any thoughts on that, let me know. But that's one of the things I was thinking about. So do these mark the possessed object or do they mark the possessed E? So they would mark the possessor. So if it's on a noun, it would go at the beginning of the noun, which is it would be in this section, right? So right before the object. So this is where it would go on the verb to mark subject. And then if it's in here, which is relating to the direct object, it would mark the possessor. Yes, the possessor. So it would, if you used, let's see, the one for like I, right? Then it would basically, on a noun, would mean my something. Yeah, I think that's what I'm thinking. If that makes sense. But I don't know. It just seemed like otherwise I'd be having two pronoun related prefix markers to mark possession. So third person plus cat would mean the cat's name of thing. It would be the third person's cat. because it's sort of the same as like if the pronoun, yeah, their cat. Yes, it would be their cat, which I feel like sort of has a vibe there because when it's on the verb, it's the subject. Well, subject. I feel like, I don't know, maybe it makes sense. Maybe I'm crazy, but it like sort of makes sense in my brain, maybe. Because the object or the noun that it's on would be the possessee. And then the possessive pronoun prefix marker would mark the possessor. Yes, I think that's correct. So that's something that you know, maybe. Otherwise, I have to make a whole nother version of this to mean like my or your or something, which could be something where I just take this and add something to mean to like an additional marker that means like possessed by this person. I think that makes sense. There's a lot of languages that mark possession like this. Okay, sweet. Okay, good. So I'm not being crazy here. That's good to know. It definitely makes things a little bit easier. It's one less thing to come up with and keep track of. So, yay. But yeah, so I have that in the noun section. We have our spatial determiners. We still have our declension table over here. I think the only thing I moved over here was like this stuff, which wasn't here before. So then I have a note. We had talked sort of about doing something like a distributive determiner, which would mean like all, each, every, half, or some. But that might be taken care of by just like maybe the plurality markers. It may not be important. I think that's something that I'll come back to if we actually need it. But then we have the verb stem, and this is all the stuff we talked about. I just put it in table format. So the verb stem, if we go back here, right, is you have your verb root, which there's not a system we need to build for that. That's just the roots, right? The action morphemes, which is the verbalizing suffix, are various determiners, and then obviously the direct object is the noun. We don't need to do anything for that either here. So some examples of verb roots, which it's a weird place to put this, but I just like, as we're playing around with this, it'd be good to have a place to just mark some common ones we're using for examples. And then I have some of the action morphemes we talked about with the verbalizing suffixes. And then the last section is the post verb. And we got into talking about this a little bit, I think, but not much. So I moved that into its own slide. So we have post verbs, which is like tense, aspect. And I just mostly hadn't finished making the chain of like all the different things that are in here, mostly because I don't conceptually understand yet in this use case what they are. Like, I know what they are, but I guess like how they're going to be categorized for this grammar, if that makes sense. Because like a lot of these are like separate words. A lot of these are noun cases. A lot of these are like these things are adverbial phrases. And I don't know if they're still technically adverbial phrases in this structure. I might need to do more research on these types of languages to see if they have special words for things in these cases. But tense and aspect, I'm pretty sure are still just, those are tense and aspect markers. I considered combining them into like single markers that like provide both the tense and the aspect. But for now, I just went with this, where we have our present and future tense. I don't think I have a use case for past. There would be past, but I don't think I would ever have a spell with past in it, if that makes sense. And then I wrote the aspects that we had sort of talked about already. So we have like a simple aspect, which is just like default verb aspect, right? Just like whatever the verb implies. Iterative, begin or start, stop, and then telic, meaning it's bounded by a condition. If we end up keeping that, so we have that's tense, that's aspect. I haven't figured these out yet. I was gonna try and make a table or a table for them, but I'm slightly confused by a few things. Let's see. Might want to consider present, non-present, or future, non-future instead of a simple present, future division. Past, non-past. So instead of having present, future, like it would still be like a binary state, but it would be it is future or it is not future kind of thing. So like future, 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 present, future. Okay, so would that just be where if it's there, like it's always present and then you just have a not present marker kind of thing? Or like, I guess maybe it would be a not future marker? I'm slightly confused by that. More information required, please. Why is my computer yelling at me? Okay. But yes. So something like that. We might tweak this. And then I don't quite understand these, so we'll come back to those. Same with object agreement. Like, I understand the concept of object agreement, but I'm not sure exactly what the marker, like how we would be labeling that as a marker. And then I have like adverbial phrases. I'm still not like 1,000% sold on those. Like, this is definitely where they would go grammatically. And in some cases are, what is that called? It's up here. Our degree. That is sort of adverbial, right? Like, very strongly is kind of, I think, an adverbial marker. So like we sort of have those already. But I'm not sure what other cases we'd want to use those for. And also, yeah, I don't know. But I think that's kind of what this is. So we could say that degree is one of those, I guess. But okay, hold on. Here we go. Back to future present. So a future non-future system gives two tenses. One tense deals with events in the future. The other tense has everything else, including the past. Oh. Okay, so basically it's like, okay, I see. So what we'd be doing here then, that makes sense. And I think that keeps things kind of simple, just to do like non-future. And I have present here where present is just basically like that is assumed, right? So it's not really a tense, I guess. Maybe. I may be misunderstanding that. And the suggestion may be to combine these together. But I'd focus more on aspect than tense. Yeah. That's, I mean, realistically, yes. Like, I will probably, like, in terms of actually using this, it will either be I use no tense markers or I use a future tense marker. I think that's the only use cases, basically. Okay, so then it's saying just have the present be non-future. Yeah. So we'll go, that works too, because then I don't even have to define the other one. Non-future, usually present. No, delete row. Yeah, and then everything's in there if I need it. It's 2 a.m. What am I doing instead of sleeping? Hello. I mean, some people just like are awake at 2 a.m. and that's like a thing. But if you're not, I hope you sleep well. Don't stay up too late. I don't think we're doing anything crazy exciting here. Blah, 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 blah. How we leave the future usually implied. Yeah. Yeah, I like that because I don't need the past. And I feel like you would have other things in there too. Sort of like you were saying, like where we have our mood clauses and stuff. Like, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of ways in here how that would come in without having to have a lot of extra markers there. Because ideally, I want everything. I'm getting myself lost. Here we go. I want everything mostly wrapped into this post verb, but I also don't want it to be like 18 blocks long, you know? But yeah, so that keeps this simple. We have tense, we have our aspects, which are fun. And then over here, the ones that made the most sense to me, I think, are the various markers that trigger unincorporated indirect objects by like increasing the valency, right? So we have dative, which is basically adds a recipient or a beneficiary. So it's sort of like to. I don't think we need multiple versions of that. I think it's just to is essentially all we need. And then we have lative markers, which add motion to a location. So that's like, I hand this to so-and-so, or I put this, I put down the phone into the box. And then there's like, I think technically it's ablative to moving away from a location instead of towards a location. But it would essentially be away from. I think in some cases we could combine these two and just have a single lative marker and a single ablative marker. I think I've been trying to like run through my head whether or not it would make sense to have distinctions here for the lative one, like motion to a location, or not. Like, I feel like the context will normally tell you if it's to or into, but like, I don't know, like bring the bow to the box or bring the bow into the box. Like, they technically mean something different, but like, should that just be a context clue thing? I don't know. Maybe that might be a good thing to do. And then in which case it would just be a lative marker and an ablative marker, which I found on Yield Wikipedia. And then we had talked about having the locative markers. That's one of the earlier things we were talking about with the spells. But that's like in relation to. So it's not implying motion, right? It's implying just the relation to it. So it's not like, you know, send a fireball to the tree. It's like burn under the tree or something, right? So we have the location markers, and I think those do need a different version for the different locations. Bring the water to the house and bring the water into the house. That's true. That's true. Now, it could be fun to intentionally let that be a little bit vague, right? Where like you have to guess by context. And then that could lead to magic shenanigans. Could be fun. Right, exactly. Like, I feel like in terms of being clear and concise, it's probably necessary in some cases, but like maybe that's where the chaos comes from. So the question there, I think, is how much chaos do we want? Things to think about. But for now, I'll leave that to and into. I couldn't think of any other cases, because like if at the point that we start thinking of like more, then I definitely need to have it not just be a basic lative marker, even if I want the chaos. But yeah, so we have locative marker, and this is something that I think might be expanded on, like as I go, if I think, oh wait, I'm missing another like lative marker. These are the ones I thought of. I don't know. I would want to keep them relatively concise if possible. Would the spirits always serve in good faith or sometimes mess with you? So it kind of depends on how you treat them, right? So like there's a way to ask spirits to do something for you and a way to like force them to do something to you or for you. So I would think that if you're making them angry by being really demanding and making them do stuff, they, might use that wiggle room. But in general, if you're just like asking them to do something, they would probably try and do it helpfully. You know what I mean? Um, that's sort of the vibe, I think, where, you want to be respectful if possible, or they have they're prone to be angry. Maybe to bring water into the house, you should use some marker that it is inside the house instead. So like that would be a locative marker, like an inside. Although that actually does make sense actually for a locative one anyway, but inside. Letter of the law versus intention of the law. Right. Bring water to the stove. Yes. Yeah, versus like into the stove. That's a good one. I think we need to keep it. Even though we have I was saying to mark house instead of the verb. Oh. So with the structure that we have here, it would have to be, so technically, I mean, it's not that it's not marking this, well, now I think that would cause too many weird things to do it that way. Just because of how like all of this is in the post verb and like the house. Well, yeah, because if we're like bringing water, then water is the direct object, which is incorporated, and to the house would be unincorporated. So we'd be moving the lative or locative marker from the post verb into the unincorporated bit, which I would prefer not to do. I want to keep it in the nice happy nest of the post verb, I think. How would I convey respect? So this doesn't have like a formality type of system in the language. It's more just like when you use a magical command, you can use different degrees to it that imply different levels of like control. So like you can say like, I'd be totally fine if you like handed me that apple over there. Like you don't have to do it, but like if you wanted to, like I'd be okay with that, which is obviously like the least like forceful. Then there's like, I would like you to do this. So like, would you please hand that to me? Where again, it's not a force per se. And then there's like, give me that apple. And there's a level of force. And then there's like an even stronger level that would be more necessary with like it uses more magic to use that higher level of command, which would be more necessary with like either bigger asks or like stronger spirits that are less inclined to help you anyway. So it's more just that like not forcing them to do things is respectful versus, taking away their choice is disrespectful to an extent. Instead of saying inside the house, you instead use to, specifying the marker within the house. To the stove instead of inside the house. Oh, I get it. Yeah, we could do something like that. So that you have to choose your words carefully to make sure that's clear. Okay, cool. So, yes, locative markers. I do think having inside is just like a good locative marker anyway, like inside, or could even be like within, or like around could also be an important one to have. All good stuff. And then we have our instrumental marker, which is by the means or tool, so like with or by. So water the garden with this watering can, or something like that. I don't know. I'm not sure how useful this would be. I'm sure it will come up, but I think just like a simple single marker will be sufficient for that. If the latives and locatives stack on each other to affect the same object, then inside renders into obsolete. That's true. That's actually true. Yeah, and they would stack. Like, I think that, like, these could all be used to an extent together. Like, if it makes sense, like, conceptually they could be used together. Like, I could definitely see, like, lative and locative would stack. So then the question would be whether or not they would use the same indirect objects, or they would introduce new ones. And that might have to be a context thing, because lative and locative makes sense to apply on the same object, right? So like away from behind there, right? Like start burning behind the tree, like away from behind the tree or something. Like I feel like that could make sense. Whereas like adding a recipient or adding an instrumental marker might imply a different indirect object, and then there might need to be multiple order dependent. You could have a special form for the lative markers for when they attach to the locative instead of just being on their own, maybe. That would make sense. And then that would make it clear if they are providing different indirect objects or not. So both an independent and a dependent form. That's true. That's true. If several are marked together on the verb, it could get confusing in a sentence with multiple objects. It absolutely would. It absolutely would. I think that is what would happen, though, based off like what we've got going on, because the only things that are unincorporated are like if we have the indirect objects. So this is why we have these like case markers on the indirect objects, so that you know which of the markers they correspond to. So if we had a separate like object being added by the dative marker, it would have the dative noun declension on that object, so that you know which one it goes to. Which, because shenanigans, there wouldn't actually be a lot of that in the spells I'd be using. It'd be a rarer thing for the most part. But I do like the idea of having a independent and dependent version. Same or different. I'm going to mark that up here for now, because I'm not sure yet if it would make sense for any of the other ones to potentially be combined. So I might want to end up adding it to more of them, because for the most part, I think they would add different things, but I'm not sure. Most polysynthetic languages solve the issue of recursion getting confusing by using multiple verbs instead of deliberately trying to make the main verb as big as possible. Yeah, that makes sense. So this will be a feature, not a bug. Yes. Feature. Definitely a feature. Oh, last time I was wearing my Bob Ross shirt that says there are no mistakes, only happy accidents. And it's basically that. The shenanigans of doing that and the chaos, happy accident. Or, yeah. Sort of a feature is more accurate, but it's more fun to say happy accident. Will context knowledge of spirit matter? So if you summon a lesser water spirit that is used to fill jugs versus if you... Yes, there is going to be a level of that in the magic system. This gets into like the magic world building a lot, and I don't think it's super relevant linguistically, but essentially like they're all wind spirits, right? But like if you imagine, like if you're world building and doing, you know, smaller scale like climatology and stuff and meteorology and thinking about like the different winds, like if you're in a valley, then, you know, you have your mountain breeze and your valley breeze. Like those would each be distinct wind spirits, like the ones that like go up the valley and the ones that go down the mountain, right? Like those would be two different spirits. And so they will have trends of what they do. So some of them might be like the spirit that normally brings, like, you know, like when the wind shifts a little bit and the spirit comes down and it brings all the rain from, you know, the tropics or whatever. Like they would have different abilities to do different things. Like they would all be capable of the same minor things, but like once you start getting into like bigger stuff and like stronger spirits, like those differences would matter more, like which spirits you're like calling upon. I haven't gone too crazy into that, but that's kind of the vibe. Imagine if you had to call spirit by their name, so grimoires were code names as tiers of spirits, but leave other spirits of the same tier unknown because their names were lost to history. Yeah, so it is similar to that, right? Like there are tiers, and some are greater than or less than, and they wouldn't necessarily know. But yeah, like that's all. That is the vibe, basically. And the other fun thing is that the spirits can only do so much. So the more people that know the name of a spirit and call upon the spirit, it essentially like weakens the amount of magic you can get out of them because they're being called upon in different areas right at the same time. So they only have so much force to extend or whatever. And so keeping the spirits' names a secret is kind of a big deal. Because you wouldn't want, you know, everyone to know about your spirit. So it's sort of like they're like family secrets almost, like, oh, we know this name. And so it's not like, I don't know, like the magic of names is like sort of a thing there, but it's also just to prevent them being, you know, yeah. Oh, if that's for me, thank you. But yes. So where were we? Oh yeah. Okay. So I didn't think of any other ones in this column that would apply valency, but I think these kind of fill some of these use cases because for proximity, we have these spatial determiners on the noun, and then we have lative and locative. I don't think we need anything else like for proximity. Like I'm trying to remember like what I was thinking, what we were thinking when we made these notes, but like same thing with like movement. I think that is handled by the lative marker. And then there's demonstratives, which is like, I think that's like this, these, etc., which I think may also be handled by the spatial determiners. I think, unless I'm misremembering what these things mean, but I think we've already done them. So I imagine a death of wind spirit, or a wind spirit dying signified by a year of perfectly still air somewhere. Yeah, so that's something that like sort of comes up a little bit in the plot, is that when a spirit is gone, or when a spirit, because it's not like necessarily the wind would disappear, but it's like the soul of the wind would be gone, and they can no longer like control it and move it in certain ways. So like one of the big things in the book is that the main like guardian of the island that controls like a lot of the like monsoon winds disappears, and they don't know where it went. And so like the monsoons still happen, but they're like incredibly deadly all of a sudden. Like they're less reliable. They don't come when they need it. Like it's just not as helpful, right? Because they all like revered the spirit and the spirit liked them, and like, you know, it was like a good relationship there, and then it's just suddenly gone, and now society is completely having to restructure itself and stuff. Death by exhaustion of cause. Yeah, like I feel like that could happen. It gives a lot of fun dynamics to mess with that impact like weather, which then trickles down into like, oh, well, you know, you make the spirit angry and suddenly like everybody's starving because there's a drought, and, you know, I don't know. I think it's fun. I've been enjoying playing around with it as a magic system. But yes, so I don't think there's anything. Yes, lore drops. But yeah, I don't think there's anything else that I'm missing that I can think of right now that needs to go in the post verb. I think. So, what I want to do is I want to start putting actual things in some of these boxes. I'm excited. So I want to start with pronouns, mostly because that's something I had played with a little bit in my notes, so we would have a starting point. Where do I have? I was taking notes. Where was I taking notes? Oh gosh, now I don't remember. Was this when we were in Photoshop that I was using it in there? Let me see if I pull up Photoshop. Where was that? I thought I had it. Did I really not put it in here? I know I was saying like no PTK unless it was like in the middle of something. Well, you know what? You know what? I still have the on paper version, I think. So let's see. Yes. Okay. Yes. All right. So we do have T, D, and K plosives, but they're limited. You can't start or end a word with them. So like they can only be in the middle. They can't be in your exterior clusters. Basic nasals, M and N. Some of the fricatives, basically a lot of the more forward sounds in the mouth. Okay. I really should have like pulled a screenshot from the thing for this. Maybe a transitive through. Ooh. Through. So that would be, I think that would be a lative marker, because it's about motion to a direction, to a location. And it's not just to a location, it's through a location, which I feel like would technically have another word. Like there's lative, which is to, ablative, which is away from, and then like another one that implies the movement is going past, right? For now, I'll just stick it here. But I think that would be really useful to have. So let's add that now before I forget. Oh no, they must all line up perfectly. Yeah, to cut through, to fly through, to look through. Yeah, exactly. I think that'll be good. Okay, so pronouns. What I had before, when I was playing around with this like a year ago, and then, you know, literally forgot everything and how everything works, was, where did it go? Oh gosh. Here we go. So, like, I don't know if you can see this at all. Is this readable at all to you? It's not the same pronoun structure that we have. So you may want to restrict syllables to being at most CVC, otherwise the clusters within words are going to get very complicated and confusing very fast. Yeah, like I think they have to be very short. Like all the little like morphemes and stuff need to be like little. There might be a couple of edge cases where you have another like one, like some like rare ones, but I think mostly, yeah, like CVC capping it there would probably be smart. So let's do, okay, pronouns. So we have the unspecified version, the singular, and the plural versions, which I think the singular would add something and the plural would add something onto it. So we want the unspecified ones to be really short. What I have here for the I is I have A, So just like ah. And then for the plural one, I had saw, which I think is still valid. Like I think we allow S's. I don't think I was weird and took that out. Yeah, we have S. S is good. A is good. So then the question would be what I would make the singular one be, because then the plurals would all potentially start with an S if we're going with a system like that. And there might be collapse rules to decomplicate it. Yeah, so part of that is going to be the oh wait, let's see if I remember how to pronounce this. Sandi? Sandi. Sandi. I think that's how we pronounce that. Maybe. This is going to kind of be the sound change system, which could mean that like if you end up getting two consonants next to each other, it could mush them down into one too, in addition to just like fixing some of the sounds that can't be at the beginning or the end and stuff. Close enough. I will take close enough on pronunciation. That is a win for me. Yeah, but I think that like the collapsing could go into that too, because again, if they end up to like once you merge them together, right? Like say you have a marker that is CVC and then another one that's CVC. If you put them together, you suddenly have two C's, which, you know, would not be legal, which then we could merge those, like have some sort of sound change for that, I think, maybe. If the pronomials go at the beginning of the words and stops are forbidden from occurring at word boundaries, that S in plurals could come from an older T, which may be preserved in the singulars. If the pronomials go at the beginning of a word, right, which they would in the cases that they're going on a verb. If they're going on a noun, then that would be in the middle. So they would both either be at the beginning or in the middle. Since stops are forbidden from occurring. Oh, wait, is S? T's a stop, right? Okay, that's what you're saying, right? The S in plurals could come from an older T, which may be preserved in singulars. But wouldn't they both be at the beginning of the word, so you wouldn't have it anyway? Because, like, they're all... Maybe I'm thinking about this wrong. Pronouns go at the beginning of the steps. I do not follow. I'm confused. I'm definitely confused. But, oh wait, I don't have E's, I think. I think E is the vowel we cut. Let's see. Yes, no E. A and I are the most common. Some O and U. I'm suggesting something like A, E-T, S-A, for example, for the speaker inclusive ones, basically. Oh, I see. So, like, it could be, like, IT, potentially. And then it just moves where that is, like something like that. And then, like, these would all have something T, maybe? That sort of vibe. Because what I have here... Oh, wait, no. That's A. It would still be like that. Potentially. So if we did something like that, which could be fun, that could be fun, then we could just have different vowels here. Speaker, exclusive, animate, and inanimate. Yeah, because we wouldn't use these very often. The ones we would use most often would be this one. So I'm trying to think for usability. For being on a verb, we would use it as the subject, which is the, like, I command you, which it would be I. So it would be probably the unspecified inclusive would be really, really common. So I like having that be really, really short. And then I think the other ones would be most common on nouns for possessives. So for possessives, I think my would again still be the most common. And then maybe the inanimate one, honestly, might be the next most common. But I feel like they'd still be relatively rare. So I'm okay making them slightly longer and saving like shorter bits to use in other places, as long as this one is very, very clear. So we can always come back and play with those, but we can say maybe because we want these to be less common, like we could just use some of our vowels here and have them start with these vowels to add the pronoun onto the beginning, which would mean that we'd probably normally want that front C. So like less likely to have like V or VC. In the verbs, more likely to have CV or CVC, maybe, just to make that not be weird, because I don't want a lot of like vowels together. I want to keep the vowel sounds pretty simple. So if we did something like that, should you state that you are commanding? Because I assume there won't be any spells of telling spirits that someone else commands them other than the speaker. Right. So basically the function of the spell is basically like you use the spirit's name in the vocative sense as like it goes over here as the topic marker. So it's like whatever their name, Bob, I guess. Bob, I command you and then do this, right? So it could be not having that plurality basically means it would be the same spell regardless of if it's like I am telling you to do this or like a coven of witches or something as a ritual as telling you to do something, right? Like either you're doing it all together and it's the I with the implied plurality because multiple people are saying it or not. So yeah. So for that case, I don't think it would be anybody else using it. Oh my gosh, sorry, I'm lost. Here we go. I don't think it would come up. When in doubt, throw in a nasal. Fair. We can always throw those in there wherever we want. But we did this. It could look something like this. Which actually is kind of interesting because with our sound change system, having the singulars at the beginning, these would pretty commonly probably be changed to have slightly different sounds to them. Oh, right, I forgot any plurality. Yes, any plurality, exactly. So I think that's like not super weird. I think that's fine. You something. Oh, no problem. So yeah, these might change. We'll have to figure out what the T's would do. Like, would that get an H? Like, would that be like? Not sure. Well, no, because it wouldn't matter here unless we do the like you can't have too many consonants next to each other. I don't know. I think we'll figure that out once we get there. But let's leave that like that for now. And then what else is probably so plurality prefix markers, which is similar to this, right? So maybe normally for singular it would be like a T. So it comes from something that are a T. So are T's here dental or alveolar? If they're dental, making them would work, but if they're alveolar, they would probably turn into S. What do I have them as back here? That might be to advance of a question for where I stuck them. So I think they're alveolar. Yeah, because they're not like, right? I think that's how that works. So I think they're alveolar. So yeah, okay, so maybe S would make the most sense there. Yeah. I think that makes the most sense because it wouldn't still be up there in that same spot of the mouth. So it would make sense to, I like that. That's like understanding sound stuff, which I barely do. But yes, so if singular, right, is marked with that t sound, then if it's a plurality prefix marker at the beginning of a noun, it would either be T or S. Wait, S or T, right? So it would remain T if it's in the middle, right? So like if we're adding plurality on the direct object, which gets shoved in the verb stem, right? Because then it's not at the beginning, so you can have that T sound. And then through Sandi. I've already forgotten. It would change to an S if for some reason it's at the beginning. Like if we have our unincorporated object and we need to make that plural, then it would be an S by our system. Yes, I think that's correct. So then for multiple, oh wait, no, because we already have S. I switched those in my head. Okay, wait. We have a problem. That would be confusing. So I don't think we want that then. So maybe we change this to something else. I was really excited because I was like, oh, we're getting to use the thing that is a thing. What if we change these to like N's instead of T's? Because then there wouldn't be any confusion there. Palatalization, Tuesday versus Tuesday. I don't know. Oh yeah, because it's yeah. Okay, I think I follow that because that's different. Yes. Yep. Yes. Yeah, but I don't think we can do that here because then it would end up getting changed into the same thing, which would be really confusing. And as much as I want to embrace the chaos, that's a bit too much chaos. So we can have N. No, don't capitalize it. Stop. Okay. So N and S, N and S. There's some consistency there. Keeping it short. I think that's fine for now. So then for, let's see. If we do, what else do I have here? So for the command form, we go over here, mood verb. We don't have a place for that yet. But let's see, degree, 4 cases. So what I had played with, shoes die. Yeah. So what I played with here, with having the markers for determining like what degree it's at, is that you have a like, I guess level 1 is default. So like a level 2 degree, which is like for this specific case where it's going to be on the mood, the verb mood for like the command, essentially the command. I had played with that being wa sound, which pretty sure we have W's, so that's fine. We're getting close on time today, so I'm not going to worry about getting like the screenshot of the letters here. Yes, we do have W's. So I had wa, and then I had what for level 3. And for level 4 degree, I had cha, which is like, it is like multiple, the sh is kind of like one consonant sound in this case, even though it's 2 letters, it's kind of one sound, so it's technically 2 consonants there. But I still kind of like it. So I think that might be one of the exceptions where it's slightly longer, and then, oh wait, no, but we can't have what at the end, because then that breaks the rules of it being on the end. So then it would get turned into oth, maybe, which I don't love. But then that sounds the same as wa. Like wa and wa are kind of the exact same. So what we could do, what was our motto? When in doubt, use a nasal. Wam. Wan. I think that's fine. We could go with that for now. Or it could even be like schwa. Could be a thing. But I like this. It kind of keeps it like incrementally longer, which is like visually easier to see. It could stay wat, and then if no other suffix follows it, the T mutates, but otherwise it remains. So I was thinking about that, and the problem is that this would never have anything after it in the like main spell. So in the command, it would always be at the end, because that's the last bit. That's like, that's this guy, right? That's our intensifier. So it would always be at the end. And so it would always change, and it would be confusing to have it be like wath or something. Like I don't like it. I don't like it. Wa. That's an option. I kind of like the idea of it starting with a consonant still, though. I don't know why, but it just like, in my brain, that consistency is nice. We could go to uwa. So suppose a verb root ata, we get atawas or atawath, but then add a suffix al and it becomes atawatl. Yeah. Yeah, I think if this was one of the cases where I think we would ever add anything behind it, it would be fun to do that. And I want to do that so that we get to play with the fun rule, because I think it's fun. It would add linguistic complications when they're trying to translate spells and be like, well, why can't I just say this? Why doesn't it work? And then their house blows up or something. You know what I mean? Oh, good night. Thank you for popping in. The nasal end is always good. Weirdly universal rule. Nasals just sound nice. They do sound nice. I like them. Uwa is just louder, longer. Uwa. Just double W doesn't make sense to me. Yeah. And we're avoiding like double consonants a lot with this, like the same ones. I'm gonna write that down. I don't think I want to do it, but I like it enough to leave it as an option. But let's do that for now, and then we can always come back to it. But for this mood verb, which this would go, I mean, it doesn't really go in the verb step. We don't really have a spot for this yet. So I'm just going to like move this over here and say mood. And then, I don't know, morphine thingy. I don't know what it's called. But we have our imperative mood. So imperative / command. And if we delete this, what I had in my notes, which we'll have to see if it still works, is my. So we would have the double vowel there, which is slightly longer than usual. But I think it kind of makes sense. Like, this is the whole imperative mood. Like, maybe it could be one of those exceptions that's slightly longer. We have AI, we have M. See, I don't know if I wrote down the combined vowels that are allowed, but A and I are the most common vowels. So I feel like if I was to allow VV, it would be AI. I think fine. So if we combine that with this, that would mean for, just move this over here. I apologize for the back and forth shenanigans. But okay, so subject, normally first or third person. This would be A. So A. And then our imperative mood indicator would be my. And then for first degree, it would just be that. Sort of like welcome. And then for beseech, it would be Maiwa. Beseech. And then Maiwan for command. And Maicha for strong command. I kind of like it. I think it's cool. This is like the part that like this will be in every single spell. Like this is the chunk. So I like that it's using the most common vowels because then they feel the most common, right? If we're using them in the stuff that's used most often. I like these letters. I like the sounds. I think that's good. Could come back and change it at some point, but I think that's pretty chill. Shenanigans are inevitable. Yeah, fair. So, okay, is there anything else that I want to do before we stop for today? I think this sets us up really, really nicely for next time, though. Oh, wait. When you specify first-person singular, anmai might assimilate to either anai or amai. It doesn't need to, but nasals usually end up becoming homorganic when next to other sounds, especially since this is a very commonly used word. So, when you specify first-person singular. Okay, so first-person singular. Which is technically on my, for example. You're saying it might assimilate to either anai or amai. It doesn't need to. Yeah, I think that makes sense. On my, and I could see it probably being anai because otherwise you just are putting an extra M and a slightly longer M sound. Although, like, I feel like that could be confusing. So maybe Yeah, I like the MM more than the NN, but I think it's not super distinct because then it's going from amai to amai, which is just two M sounds, which I feel like it's not different enough. I don't know. Because I feel like it needs to be clear, especially like I'm one of those people that like I read very fast. So like not that I would be like skimming the spells or honestly as a human being who is very realistic with herself, I would not be one of the people in a book that would like look at these and like figure out the like linguistic patterns. Like I have not vibing with the grammar enough for that. But if I was, I would probably be less likely to pick up like MM versus NN. So maybe it might go to that for specifically singular. I do think that makes sense. But yes, this sets us up well for next time. So I think next time we will again try to get out the generator. We'll make sure that all the sounds are correct and that I have all that in there. And we will just set it up to like generate a bunch of like short morpheme type things. And then we can start populating all these tables. And I'll pull the rules up too, because like not all of them need to be like through the generator, right? Like there's not that many options, right? Like there's not that many options. So we got to make sure it's, you know, good. But yes. I think that's it for today. I need to go lay on a heating pad for a while so that I can make it through tomorrow. But I'm excited. We have a word, a mood. We have, I mean, I guess like altogether, like it's a word. It is a word. We have words, versions of one word, which is progress. We have done something substantial today, and I will count that as a win. So yeah, I keep feeling like I need to say something else and I can't remember what else I need to say. So I think I'm just like, I don't know, my brain today. Like seriously, I recorded a video earlier today, like a chatty video, and I was like, oh, this will be 10 minutes. It was not 10 minutes. But anyway, yes, thank you everyone for your help. We will be back in the code next time and generating actual words and starting to string together actual spells so we can like start working through and like coming up with all the bits for the spells. So that's exciting. Thank you everyone very, very much. I appreciate all your help and assistance because I have literally no idea what I'm doing. So yeah, it's great. Okay, thank you. Good night. Have a good evening, week, rest of the week, all those things. Okay, bye.